Good morning from my side of the world, everybody. So today talking about the archetype of Taurus, and I personally really like a lot what I heard from Stephen Forrest mention about Taurus, that we can imagine the bull or the cow, but the bull kind of this big, massive body of earth is standing on a wide open meadow in silence and in this kind of in this serenity, in this peacefulness. If you want to imagine a wide open meadow with like uh this bull ox animal standing on there just grazing, being deeply immersed in the nature that surrounds it, being deeply part of the nature that surrounds it or that it is grazing in. So this is obviously part of the earth element family. And what I just described describes kind of this end point of the evolutionary journey or intention of Taurus, where when we embark on this Taurian journey of really deeply embodying, inhabiting our physical body, um, we arrive in this experience of deep presence without the conceptual, analytical, philosophical elements. It just is the presence. Like so many animals actually inhabit or embody, right? There's no thought, basically. So obviously this for a human being might be difficult to experience because we have thoughts in our brains. But to me, it's more about allowing this spaciousness to really permeate us and even having the presence go through our thought structure or thought construct so that there is this wide openness in our thinking patterns as well. um, so Taurus, as I just mentioned about being deeply in the body and embodied. If you've watched my video on Aries and some other ones, but Aries in particular, and you might have heard me say that I also actually speak about with Aries, it's about really inhabiting the primal, instinctual animal body. So for me personally, from my experience and understanding, Aries is really more about the primal, instinctual, and fiery also. Like there is more agility in some ways and impulsiveness in this embodiment. More fire, literally, because it's also part of the fire element family, right? And for Taurus, it's also about profound embodiment, but really in this more serene, broad, calm sense. So, what's the journey to get there? There's obviously kind of pitfalls and signposts and this kind of stuff. So, Taurus is also about, as I just mentioned, about really arriving on this earth. And what this means in the human translated sense, obviously, we are not a literal bull grazing on a meadow. We're human beings who need food, who benefit from having a roof over our head and a house to live in. And so Taurus is also about the material stability or the material resourcefulness. And this is where finally gets interesting, where we can go into this shadow expression of Taurus, which can be described as sometimes the stubbornness or greediness also. So greediness is a shadow expression of Taurus, and it actually comes from not fully inhabiting the body. Obviously, also potentially having had traumatic experiences around being feeling supported in life. If we grew up in an experience of poverty, for example, but just generally, obviously, we live in a world that's really disembodied in a lot of ways. And so, if we have a Taurus archetype in us and don't embody, we might be grabbing endlessly for material goods, and nothing can satisfy us because we are not really profoundly taking it into our being. So sensuality is a really beautiful component on medicine for Taurus. And I love what one of my teachers, Dr. Saida Desilet, said. She said, sensuality is to make sense of reality. And what I really learned in my journey of tantric, spirituality, sexuality, like this embodiment work, basically, that sensuality is so not this performative thing that we often learn in our society. Sensuality is literally to take in reality through our sense organs. So can we, whatever material resource we acquire, be that an item like a carpet or a pillow or a piece of clothing or a drink or some food, can we really take that in? If it's an item that has texture, can we really feel it? Like focusing our fingertips where they touch the fabric and how that feels or what that moves in us, or just literally like bringing our attention there and touching things, even our own body, as if we are touching our skin for the very first time. Taking in smells as if we are taking them in for the very first time and feeling how these molecules that carry scent come into our nostrils and penetrate all these little smelling cells in there and move into our body and spread in our body. Same with this sense of taste. Can we really taste and feel the food in our mouth? Can we hear the sound or feel the sound, even how it enters our ears and moves through and in our body? Our eyes are so overstimulated nowadays. So going into nature or any kind of pleasing sight, art that feels relaxing and spacious and calming for our eyes can also support this Taurian embodiment. So, personally, I really love nature. Going out into nature and really just allowing the landscape to penetrate us very widely and gently. Really kind of, yeah, actually, instead of us penetrating the landscape and being like, oh, what's there? Actually, just kind of inhaling it through our eyes, or like just letting it be. I I imagine it can be very challenging. I was just struggling to find my words as well because I think we are so overstimulated with our eyes nowadays through the smartphones and the screens, obviously. So, yeah, this sensuality is really a beautiful tool, I think, to uh, evolve our journey of Taurus and to arrive more towards this evolutionary endpoint, so to say. So I mentioned the potential shadow expressions, and yeah, so these shadow expressions come from if we are not using our body to fully take in the experience. If we are, if we are just stuffing the food down, if we are just like not feeling the items that we acquire, that we buy for ourselves, and then nothing can ever be enough because we are not letting it touch it. Because we're not letting it touch us deeply. We're just always letting it touch us extremely superficially. So again, psychosomatic work is also a really healing, beautiful, supportive tool for Taurus. I do mention psychosomatic work quite a lot. Yeah, this on the Taurus journey. And then we can become a really deeply inhabited body, and it's so beautiful. It's really not about, yeah, this archetype is not about the intellectual or the conceptual or the philosophical, like Sagittarius, for example, is more about the philosophical. But yeah, Taurus is really about the beingness, and the beingness through the body, not through the pretending, as so many spiritual traditions, or not traditions, but there's so many spiritual uh, ways nowadays kind of are lost on. I actually think it's really about, can we feel the presence and not speak it or pretend it or tense up around it? Can we relax into it, actually? Yeah. So that's my talk on Taurus. If you like to book a reading, of course, you can do so through a link in the description below. And I wish everybody a good weekend if you're watching this on the weekend. Good time. Thank you. Bye bye.